So the Sunday after Pentecost Sunday, we celebrate the solemnity of the Most Holy Trinity. It's important because who is God? God created everything that exists. He's the ground of all being. He holds everything in existence. And so, it's a good question. Who is God? What's the essence of God? Also, we know that we're created in the image of God. And so knowing who God is, we know who we are. And what we see with the Trinity is that God is communion. The Father is giving everything to the Son. The Son is doing everything for the glory of the Father. Another way to say is that God is love. And so in order for God to be love, God is three persons. But each person is offering, donating, giving to the other, living for the other, for the sake of the other. That's who God is. That's the essence of God. And that's what we're created in. We're created in this image, which means we are created out of love. But it also means that we are created for love. And in the first reading, God has acted. God has manifested himself with the people of Israel, taking them out of slavery through signs and wonders, strong hand to bring them into the promised land. And so God acts also in our lives. His motivation is pure love, simply for our good. And what we see in the Old Testament, we see becomes flesh in Jesus Christ. That Jesus Christ is love. And we hear in the gospel, Jesus says, "All power in heaven and on earth has been given to me, and I am with you always until the end of the age." And so, Jesus Christ, all power in heaven and earth has been given to him, and he is with us. Love itself is with us always. Love, who created everything, is with us always. So this should give us immense courage, because love accompanies us always. He also says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit." Baptizing means to immerse. And so love desires to be one with the beloved. Love is communion. God is communion. And everything that he's doing is so that we can enter into this communion. We can enter into the communion that is God. Love has acted, loving us, giving himself to us, offering himself to us, only so that we can enter into this communion, so that we can enter into divine life, so that we can share in this life of love. This is what St. Paul is explaining in many different ways. He says, those who are led by the Spirit of God. Paul recognizes very well that God is love. And so that's why he allows the Spirit to lead him, because he recognizes who God is. God is love. God desires the best for me. And so I allow him to lead me. I allow him to guide me. I allow him to enter into my life. And he says, are sons of God. Why sons of God? We are creatures of God. But it's because we share the same Spirit as God himself that we're sons of God. We share in the Holy Spirit. It's the same thing. How is it that the three persons are one? It's because of love. This is so much so that they become one. And this is what we are created for. We are created to love the other, and in loving, giving ourselves, donating ourselves, we become one. That's what marriage is. Two people, because they're loving, because they're giving themselves, because they're donating themselves, because they're offering themselves to the other, they become one. They become in communion. But all of this is simply an image of what God is doing with all of humanity. This is a prefiguration of heaven. Heaven is where we become one with God. We enter into the life of God because just as God is loving us, we're receiving his love, we in turn are loving him. And so we become one with the beloved. We become one with God. And so because we share his spirit, we're children of God. It means we act as he acts. We love as he loves. Because we're in communion with this spirit. You did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear. And so the spirit that we've received is the Holy Spirit, is the Spirit of God, is the divine spirit, is a spirit of love. It's not a spirit of fear to be slaves, but you received a spirit of adoption. We've been adopted. In Jesus, it says, through whom we cry, Abba, Father. Imagine to call God Daddy. Why can you call God Daddy? Because you recognize he's loving you. He's with you. He's protecting you. He's guiding you. He's defending you. He's protecting you. He's helping you. He's present. He desires your happiness. He sees you as his son. This is who God is. I don't know what image we each have, but God is telling us, I'm Daddy. I'm the one who's always there for you. I'm the one who wants the best for you. I'm the one who's defending you. I'm the one who is your father. And so we can cry, Abba, Daddy, which again, we can allow him to love us. We can allow him to lead us. We can allow him to guide us. We can allow him to love us so that we can enter into relationship, enter into communion with him. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God, to see ourselves as sons and daughters of God, because we share in his Spirit. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God, joint heirs with Christ. Everything that Christ has done is for this. That we can enter into the family of God. We can enter into the life of God. We can enter into the communion. We can enter into the communion that is God. God is love. And that's what we see in the saints. That they are loving. That they're living for the good of the other. They're living for the good of the other. Why? Because they've drawn close to love. They've become one with love. They allow love to live inside of them. And so their life is one of love. But it's not so much what they're doing as much as they're simply allowing God to love through them. He also says, if only we suffer with him, so that we may be glorified with him. Because what we see on the cross is love. He's suffering for us. He's giving his life for us. He's dying for us. He's doing everything he is, not for himself, but out of love for us. And so that's what love looks like. Which means that if we are participating in this life, it means that we're also suffering for the good of the other. Also giving our lives for the good of the other. Also dying to ourselves for the good of the other. Loving. And we are created in the image of God. And this is who God is. This is the essence of God. This is the heart of God. Love. Which means not thinking of ourselves, not living for ourselves, not preoccupied about ourselves. It's a complete donation for the good of the other. That's who God is. That's how God has acted. That's who God continues to be in our lives. And so by recognizing that this is the truth, by believing in this truth, then we allow this love to enter into our lives. then we're able to participate in this divine life. We're able to live a life of love, which is what we're created for, which is the fullness of our happiness. And it's what heaven is. It's being in communion with God. And because we're in communion with God, we're in communion with each other. And this is what the church is. The church is this place on earth where brothers are in communion because they're in communion with God. What we celebrate in the Eucharist is exactly this, that God is loving us, giving himself, offering himself, donating himself to us so that we can receive, we can welcome. And in welcoming love, in receiving this love, we become one. We enter into communion. We share in this life. And so as we continue to celebrate this solemnity of the Most Holy Trinity, let us give thanks, let us give praise for who God is. Again, the one who created everything, the one who holds everything in existence, the one who fathered us is love. But love never forces the other. Love always leaves the other one free, which means that all of us in our freedom can say no to love. Or we can say yes. I believe, I desire, I allow this love into my life. And let us return love for love. And so as we continue with the Eucharist, Jesus is giving us his body, his blood. He's giving us his soul. He's giving us his divinity. He's giving everything he has. He has no other way to say, I love you as you are. I want to share my life with you. I want to be one with you. And then he waits for us to say yes. I welcome your love. I receive your love. I also want to receive your love. I also want to be one with you.